let's jump right in. Evidently, you all know a heck of a lot more about football than I do. That's what I learned in the last 15 minutes. So we're going to go ahead and jump right on in because there's a lot of stuff for you to learn and a lot of stuff for you to implement. So here we go. Here we go. Bear with me just a second. Little bit of a technical difficulty on my end. So right around December of 2008, I went out on a date with this guy, the guy that's up in the upper left-hand corner. I thought he was a pretty interesting dude. He worked for NASA, as it turned out. And I had never dated anybody that worked for NASA. And frankly, I never met anybody that worked for NASA. And about 2 minutes into our date, he whips out a picture of his grown children. And I don't have any children, so I did the only thing I knew how to do. I whipped out a picture of my dog. So despite him being a little bit pushy, our date was going fine. And about 5 minutes into our date, he says to me, "Hey, do you think you'd ever want to get married?" And I about fell out of my chair. And I said to him, "Well, I was just going to order a salad." So despite being a little bit pushy, give me just a second, guys. Carmen, can you hear me?
Yep, can hear you just fine.
Yep, I'm having a hard time every time I want, sorry, little technical difficulty. Every time I want to advance, I'm getting a pop-up here.
Every time you want to advance?
Every time I want to advance a screen to my next slide, I'm getting a pop-up.
I'm sharing the screen, so I can just click forward if you want me to.
Okay, is there a way that I apologize, is there a way that I can do it on my end so it flows a little better?
Yeah, absolutely. All right, let's just get that going. If you want to share your screen now, you're more than welcome to do so.
Okay. Carmen?
Yep.
I have tech support here, so we're having a hard time on our end.
Okay, are you sure? I can keep clicking through the screens. I think that could also work completely fine.
Okay, all right. We'll go ahead back to you, Judy.
Just let me know when you want me to.
Okay, go on. Go on. Okay, great. So we're fine, thank you. So despite his being a little bit pushy, we were watching this show about 9 months later. Now keep in mind, we were not in the wedding business at the time. And so I don't know why we were watching this show, but you might remember Platinum Weddings from when it was on the WE network, otherwise known as the Chick Network. And the premise of this show is that every single episode was an opulent, over the top wedding. And everything about the one we were watching was opulent and over the top, except for they had these god-awful candelabras from 1972. Now, I usually do this presentation live, as you can probably tell, and in front of a bunch of wedding industry professionals. And I know you guys are primarily rental folks. I own a rental company as well. And some of you may have these god-awful candelabras in your inventory. So no disrespect, but at any rate, my remark to the welder was, "Hey, I can't believe they spent all this money on this opulent, over-the-top wedding, and yet they have these god-awful candelabras." And he said, "Well, maybe that's the only thing that's on the market." And I said, "Yeah, good point." So I said, "I bet you could make something pretty cool." And his response, of course, is, "Well, I build space shuttles for a living, but you'd have to design it." And I said, "Okay, fine." And I said, "Oh, I franchise things for a living, but let me try my hand at it." And I drew this picture that's in the middle. Normally these advance one at a time, but I drew this little picture that's in the middle. I know it looks like a tree with holding, I don't know, beer cans or something. And in a week or so, we had made this little floral stand that's on the right. Now, bear in mind, this was right around 2010. So if it looks dated for good reason. But I took this thing down to my local flower shop because I was having a dinner party, had this misconception that I could cook, turned out to not be true, but nonetheless, I took it down to my local flower shop and had them put flowers on it for my dinner party. And the florist said to me, "That's a pretty cool stand. Where'd you get that?" And I said, "Oh, I know the people that make them." And of course, we had one. And she said, "Do you think you could get more?" And I said, "Yeah, I think I probably can." So I left there and I called my boyfriend, "Carmen, go ahead." And I said, "We're going to start a business." And he said, "Really? Doing what?" And I said, "Well, we're going to build things for the wedding industry." And he said, "Like what?" And I said, "You know what? I don't really know. Just trust me. We'll make some flower stands and cupcake stands." Back then, cupcakes were still a thing right around 2010. "Just trust me on this, and we'll make some things." So he said, "Okay, fine." We were dating. Of course, he wanted to please me, so I never has wanted to do it since. But nonetheless, there we go. So next slide, please. We started making all manner of decor for weddings and events. All right. We started with one welding machine in my garage, and we started making flower stands and ceremony backdrops and cupcake stands and you name it. And things were going okay. Again, 2010, things were going okay. And the people that used our stuff, they really, really liked it because it's sturdy and it was original. And let's face it, it was, engineered by a NASA dude and a girl who went to Cal Poly. So if you need something, if you need a cupcake stand over engineered, we're definitely your people. So it was, so we decided that we would put some money behind advertising because people seem to like the product. And I signed up with, I think I can say out loud, the Wedding Wire, or the Knot. Now it's known as Wed Pro. Most of you probably know this. And, spent a not small amount of money for about 6 months. And it was a huge flop. And by huge, I mean a huge flop. And what I learned is that we don't make the flower. We already knew this, but the reason it was a flop, no disrespect to them, is that we don't make the flowers. We make what you put the flowers on. And we don't make the pretty cupcakes or the cake or the food. We make what you put the pretty cupcakes or the cupcake or the food on. So we were definitely a misfit with those platforms. So I had a marketing problem. And I was kind of embarrassed, frankly, because I come with a marketing background. You can tell I'm not a tech person, but I do know marketing. And I thought I was a pretty good marketer. But as it turns out, I was a good marketer as long as I had a 2-page org chart of people reporting to me. I was with PepsiCo for 12 years and Nestle before then. So I thought I was a good marketer. But you know what? I was a good marketer when I had a lot of folks, and I was a good marketer when I had a budget the size of, Croatia's gross national product. But when I was a marketing team of one and I was spending my own money, it became apparent that I really wasn't that great of a marketer after all. So it was about this time that Facebook ads were starting to become a thing. And so I decided, well, what have I got to lose? I've got to try something. Next slide. And I ran this ad. Now, keep in mind, this is 2010. This is the most pedestrian thing we made. There are about 14 things wrong with this ad, but nonetheless, I ran this ad, and about 4 days in, I get a call from a bride, and she books this canopy, and I'm talking with her and saying, "Hey, how'd you hear about us?" Because as a matter of course, I ask every customer how they hear about us, and she said to me, "Oh, I saw you on Facebook," and I said, "Okay, great, that's good to hear." Finished getting her booked, hung up the phone, and my little, "Oh, that's great," turned into yay, yay, yay. I did the stupidest happy dance you've ever seen, sitting in my office, because finally, for the first time, I could see a direct correlation between the money that I was spending on advertising and getting an actual booking. Now, I teach this class, I give this talk live. You can tell I've done the special events show and the wedding MBA and such. And this is usually where I get an opportunity to ask the audience, how much do you think I spent on this ad to get this booking? And Carmen, can you moderate comments and find out for me? Can people type in there how much they think I had spent on this ad? Keep in mind, this was 2010.
Yep. What does everybody think? Type it in the chat. How much money do you think Valerie spent on this ad? All right. Heidi's saying 15. Darian 15. Alia says 25. Fake Carmen Bojack says 75. Renton says $5. Awesome. We're getting a huge range.
Janice says everyone. Okay, $100. Okay, cool. The reality is, next slide, I had spent $17.68. Incidentally, that is not me. I don't look like that. I'm probably older than most of you, but I'm really not that old. So I had spent $17.68 to generate $350 in gross revenue. Now, next slide. Anybody that knows me knows that I'm very much a numbers person. I need to look at the numbers. I need to know the numbers. So I got back into this and said, okay, how much does it cost me to rent this thing and get it there? Obviously, we make products out of steel, so they last forever and ever and ever. I had a pretty low cost of goods on it, but I got to pay one of my drivers to get it there. And when I calculated all of that, I had found an ROI on the next slide of 1,400%. So again, I'm usually giving this talk to wedding planners. So I always have to say something like, for you liberal arts majors or for you English majors in the room, that means that I gave Facebook $17.68 and it gave me 14 times that in profit, hard, cold profit. And the profit is what we use to buy the dog food around here at this house. So needless to say, I was hooked. And I became a student of all things Facebook and Instagram. And one thing I do want to say, I say Facebook a lot, but I'm referring to both Facebook and Instagram 99% of the time when we're talking here. If I mean Facebook only or Instagram only, I'm going to let you know when we get to that part, but it just gets tedious to say it both. So I'm referring to both. So I became a student of this, and through, frankly, a not small amount of money that I threw at it, trialing and erroring, making mistakes. Sometimes I purposely made mistakes because I wanted to see what would happen if I did that. I'm happy to say that 12 years down the road, my little company has turned from just a small rental company here in Southern California. Now we fabricate products and sell them all over the country. And behind word of mouth, which will always be the gold standard for all of us in this industry, I have grown this business pretty much off the back of Mark Zuckerberg. Not that he needs my little drop in his financial bucket, but he has done a very good job helping me grow. So if you'll bear with me, we're going to go to the next slide and I'm going to teach you some things. The first thing is, why should you pay? There's a lot of folks who, because they know how much I love Facebook and Instagram ads, they think I work for that company, which is kind of funny to me. I don't. I only love it because it works. Like you, I have a business to run and a million things to do. I like this because it has worked for me and it's helped me grow my business. So hopefully I'm going to be able to show you why you should pay, and we'll all be able to get past the angst of the fact that we kind of have to pay if we want to do this. We're going to go over some rookie mistakes. I've been teaching this for about 6 or 7 years now, and all of my students, with a few exceptions, tend to make the same mistakes, which makes sense. They're the same exact mistakes that I made early on. I'm going to cover the top 3 because my goal here, of course, is to always save you time and always save you money, or both. So we'll cover the top 3 rookie mistakes that I see folks making when they run their ads. And then I'm going to show you an ad that goes directly into a bride's or groom's feed. I know that being rental companies, you guys service other event pros. And in my course, I actually teach a more in-depth method of targeting so that you can reach the event pros and frankly, any target audience that you want. But for the sake of this, we're going to talk about how to get directly in front of a bride, because this really is my moneymaker ad that I always have running in the background of all of my other ads. And then we're going to jump into Ads Manager, which is the interface that runs your ads, whether they be Facebook or Instagram ads. We're going to jump into Ads Manager, and I'm going to take you screen by screen, click by click, because when you leave here, I want you to be able to go and run your first ad. Or if you're not running your first ad, I want you to go out and run an ad, and this time maybe know exactly what you're doing. So that's what we're going to cover. Carmen, next slide, please. Okay, these are the hard cold facts, you guys. Don't shoot the messenger here. This is why I don't put my picture up, I guess. So Facebook and Instagram, it is fundamentally a media company, not unlike NBC or CBS or Netflix or the billboard companies or what have you. It is in fact a pay-to-play company. And yes, there are things that you can do with your organic posts, organic meaning the free stuff that we all post all the time. There are things that we can do to increase our reach, but generally when you throw something up on Facebook, roughly 1.2% of your fans are going to see it, which really means that the other 98.8 aren't. Again, you can do things to improve that, but that's basically how it's going to start for you when you make a post. Now, Instagram obviously is better, a little bit at 4% organic reach, but frankly, 4% isn't all that big of a deal anyway. Next slide. if you take a look at what those numbers actually look like for most of us, on the left-hand column, I just put, an average fan and follower base from 1,000 to 10,000. And when you extrapolate that out with Instagram at 4% and Facebook at 1.2%, you can see the numbers are just not that big. The numbers in red are my numbers of about 7 months ago. And when I gave this talk at special event show in Miami, and obviously my numbers have grown since then, but at the end of the day, reaching 163 people on Instagram with my organic posts, or what's worse, 52 people on Facebook. I mean, how hard do I really want to work to reach that few of people? So the reality is you're just not going to get very far if you don't run ads. On the next slide, we talk about the quality of the people that your post. So that was quantity, all right? 1.2% and 4%, low quantity. But let's talk about quality. When I post something on Facebook, these are the people that typically see it. So starting from the top, that's my childhood friend and her very accident-prone husband. That's the next one's my sister, another sister, my cousin, a friend, my brother-in-law with, I don't know, somebody who's not my sister. I have a bunch of sisters. And then my childhood, a girl who was really mean to me in grade school, who all of a sudden has decided that she wants to be my new BFF. So kind of funny. But these are the people that when I post something, they routinely engage, meaning they like, comment, and share. And they know enough, the average person knows enough about Facebook and Instagram to think that when they do those things, they're actually helping me. And because they're doing these things, Facebook is saying, hey, these folks really like her stuff. We need to make sure that we show them more of her stuff. And because Facebook's #1 goal is to give people good user experience, because if they give them a good user experience, they can keep them on the platform longer. And the longer they keep them on the platform, the more they can sell advertising to people like me. This is just like NBC and CBS when we were all kids. The longer they can keep you watching TV, the more they can charge, the advertisers for the commercial spots. So it's just the same thing gone digital. Well, here's the problem with this. These people think they're helping me, but who are these people really? They are people that already know me. They are people that probably are not in the market for what I have. And frankly, if they are, they're going to call me and they're going to order it anyway. And they're probably going to ask me for a discount because they're my friend or my family, right? So what these people are actually doing, next slide, is that they are sucking up my 1.2%, right? They're great. I like them in real life, but they're really doing nothing to help my business. So the quality of your fans on Facebook, in addition to the quantity being low, the quality is pretty crappy as well. Next slide. Let's talk about Instagram. Now, we all know that 4% is more than 1.2%. So that's the good news here. And the better news on Instagram is that the quality of followers on Instagram is generally better. And here's the reason why. If you think back about when we all started our Facebook page, we all did the same exact thing, right? We sent a note out to all of our family, everybody that was in our contacts, and said, hey, will you like my page? You'll remember that there was a built-in mechanism for that inside of Facebook. And generally people like us in real life, so they liked our page on Facebook. Well, Instagram doesn't have that built-in will you go steady with me mechanism. So that means that the people that became your followers on Instagram are generally people who came to you of their own volition. They actually have some fundamental interest in what you're doing. Now, granted, in many instances, it's our competitors, but nonetheless, they're people who have a greater interest in what you're doing. So yeah, the quality is a little bit better on Instagram than it is on Facebook. Next page, please. So let's talk about why you should pay. The reality is at 1.2%, if you don't pay, you're not going to be seen. So pay so you can be seen. More importantly, next slide, get seen by the right people. Now, on that old kind of embarrassing ad that I ran back in 2010, I did about 14 things wrong. I mean, a whole bunch of things that got wrong. But the one thing that I did right, the thing that got me this 1,400 ROI is that I targeted correctly, right? The product was crappy. The copy was crappy. You really shouldn't put a price in your copy. We go into that in depth in my full-length course. But at any rate, I did 14 things wrong, but I did one thing right. And that was that I targeted correctly. The secret sauce of Facebook and Instagram is the targeting. Next slide. They freaking know everything about us, whether or not we want them to. I'm going to make the assumption that most of you do a fair amount of wedding business. That's why you're in this presentation. Well, the good news is you can reach a bride. When you go to the next slide, you can see that you can actually reach a very specific bride. Let's say you have the best rental collection of beautiful mandaps for Southeast Asian couples. You can reach that specific target audience. Let's say, I realize that you are not wedding gown makers, but I often talk to a lot of wedding gown makers. Let's say you make the most beautiful wedding gowns for plus size brides. You can reach that bride. You can reach a same-sex couple, right? The targeting possibilities are endless. So you are seeing, when you run ads, you are seeing in greater number, but by the right people. So let me give you a live example. Next slide, please. So I married the welder, and that's me. So I don't look like that today. I'm not wearing a big white fluffy dress, but I am part of a target audience, otherwise known as brides of the AARP, right? I was a bride in my 40s and I had to go buy a dress. And I already had a really crappy attitude about buying a dress for this wedding because I'm about twice the age of the average bride. And I just had a bad attitude. And so I got online, and on the next slide, I found dresses of every possible sort: white dresses, tan dresses, whatever, cream dresses, boho dresses, beach dresses, that really beautiful dress on the right hand side. I saw everything, every possible dress, except for a dress on a girl even remotely close to my age. Had I been served up an ad anywhere of a picture of a girl my age in a wedding dress, I guarantee you I would have gotten on a plane and flown there and bought the damn silly dress, sorry, because somebody had convinced me that they knew my pain point, that they were solving my problem. That is the beauty of targeting. You can, I'm not saying that you don't market to the younger brides, because let's face it, that's a much larger target audience, but I got to tell you, I had a much bigger budget, right? So you can target, the specificity with which you can target is pretty much endless. So let me give you, next slide, please. So when you pay, you can be seen by the right people. Next slide, with the right message. Be seen by the right people with the right message. Live example, we make these silly little cupcake stands. This is one of the first things we made back in 2010, 2011. And on the next slide, we market these locally in our rental company. We rent a lot of them to soccer clubs. Now, I'm not a soccer mom. I've never been a soccer mom, but I know enough about soccer moms to know that when they're throwing a party for their kid, a couple things are probably true. They are probably pressed for time. They might be on a budget, and their kid's best friend mom just had a party with a freaking mom at it, right? So when I run my ads for these little cupcake stands to the soccer moms in my rental radius, I don't say, oh, hey, look at my cute cupcake stands. I say, throwing a party for your kid, we got your back, right? So I can target to that level of specificity and help that soccer mom know that I have a product that isn't, about me, it's about solving her problem. Now, conversely, next slide, we sell a lot of these products all over the country, right? I've sold them to a lot of different rental companies, but I particularly sell them to a lot of catering companies and a lot of venues. And we know that even though it's an identical product, what a caterer needs is completely different than what a soccer mom needs. They need products that are durable, that are easy to clean. They want something that makes their food look really good. Obviously, we make these things out of steel, so they freaking last a lifetime. But my ad is for the identical product, but because I'm able to target, I make sure that my copy matches something that matters to this person. So the reason that you really want to pay, next slide, is so that you can be seen in quantity by the right people with the right message. You can't really do that in any other manner. Okay, next slide, please. So we're going to talk about rookie mistakes. And I usually give this presentation in front of about 1,000 people. You can probably tell I'm more comfortable live than I am behind a computer screen. But the reality is, if we want to use this to drive our business, we've got to throw a little bit of money. And I say a little bit of money, Facebook and Instagram way. So we're not talking about a lot of bit of money. We're talking about a little bit. So we're going to move into rookie mistakes. And these are the mistakes that I see most of my students making. And like I said, I made them. They're not meant to embarrass anybody, although sometimes when I teach this live, I actually make people raise their hands. Because it makes us all feel better that we are in the same boat. So rookie mistake number one, and that is worried about your fan count or your follower count, fans on Facebook, followers on Instagram, right? The reality is this is just a vanity metric. There's almost no value to it otherwise. I see my friends in the industry posting things on their regular, on their organic is another word for free. It's just another word for what we do, with our regular posting. And I see friends in my industry posting things that I know it took them 35 minutes to write, right? And then you know who sees it? Me. And I'm like, dude, I already love you. I already think that you're great. That's 35 minutes you could have been using running ads to actually get in front of somebody who's going to give you money to drive your business. Right? So I see there are things that you can do to improve that, but nothing's going to improve it faster than ads. And people get so hung up on this whole vanity metric of how many fans, how many followers. And it is frankly, in most instances, just a measure of popularity. I've never been particularly popular. I have, however, been profitable. I prefer profitable. And so rookie mistake number one, just move beyond the worry of how many fans or followers that you have. Rookie mistake number two, for the love of God, stop boosting posts and stop promoting posts. And this one is akin to the slot machine at Vegas. It is the first thing you see when you walk in the door. And it's all blinky and shiny and lighty and loud and attractive, right? And so what do? You throw in a buck or whatever and you play. Well, boosting and promoting posts are the same thing. It is a slot machine of Facebook and it's easy. They make it super easy. It's kind of fun because you feel like you're doing something, right? And you're like, hey, I'm advertising. Okay, good. I'm doing something, right? Here's the problem with it. Next slide, please. When you boost a post, remember these people that we talked about a moment ago, these people who are already my friends or already my family, except for that girl at the bottom who still befuddles me, but nonetheless, these people, when you promote a post or boost a post, all you're doing is throwing some money at Facebook or Instagram and saying, hey, Facebook, Instagram, here's my money. Please show my post to more of the wrong people. Right? Again, I see this all the time with my friends in the industry. The way that you know that something has been promoted is that it shows up in your feed with the little word sponsored up the top. And I feel like calling these people and saying, I'm your friend, I already like you, here's your buck back. Here's your $5 back. Please stop wasting your money to get in front of the likes of me. So boosting and promoting a post, rookie mistake number two. This is probably the one that I see really most often. And in addition to it, not working. The reason it doesn't work is because there's just a limited amount of targeting that you can do. There's a little bit, but all the stuff that I just showed you a moment ago, you can only do a tiny amount of that. And what's worse than having it not work for you is when you come to me and go, oh, Facebook and Instagram don't, they don't work, because, I tried that. Well, boosting a post and promoting a post isn't really advertising. So if you've done it, don't worry about it. We've all done it. Just move past the idea that you're ever going to do it again. Okay, next slide. The other reason that you don't want to boost and promote a post, in addition to the fact that you're showing it to the wrong people, is that you miss out on all of that messaging specificity that we talked about a minute ago. Remember when I told you about the soccer moms versus the caterers? Well, the same thing happens here. Let's say you're a florist, okay, and you're saying, hey, here's some money Facebook, here's some money Instagram to boost or promote the post. This is called the fire hose approach, right? Well, next slide. Imagine if you're a florist who, and bear with me because I know you guys are rental companies, but I work with so many florists across the country. So imagine if you're a florist who works at a mortuary. I have a good friend here in town, and her floral shop is across the street from the largest mortuary in San Diego County, and she does an exceptional job. I'm pretty sure that this is her gift. Well, imagine if you're Mrs. Jones, who has just lost Mr. Jones after 45 years of wedded bliss, Jerry Jones, as the case may be. And what shows up in your feed is, hey, look at my pretty flowers. And you're really meaning, for Mr. Jones's casket, but there's a picture of a girl in a white dress, right? when you just generically boost the posts that you put on your page or on your profile on Instagram, you are not targeting to the right people, and you're not to any people, frankly, and you're not certainly not able to target the message. So rookie mistake number 2 really is boosting or promoting a post. Normally when I teach this live, I literally make everybody in the room raise their hands and swear that they're not going to do it again, because I don't want them to waste money. So I'm going to hope that you guys are doing that virtually. Okay, rookie mistake number 3, next slide. I don't know how many of you have been in a position to be on the receiving end of resumes. I certainly have. I mentioned I was with PepsiCo and with Nestle, and I ran franchise development for some large national restaurant chains. And Lord knows, I have seen a lot of resumes. And when I get a 5-page resume, you guys jump in, somebody tell me, what do you do when you get a 5-page resume? Carmen, can you get some comments for me?
Yep.
Laugh.
Laugh. Yep.
I like that one. Okay, that's actually a really nice answer. Use it for scrap paper. Yep, that's me, Tina. Okay, next. Okay, from Devin. Okay, anybody else? Goes to the bottom of the pile. Okay, Rick Nadler, if I'm saying your name correct, we would get along perfectly. That's where it goes. When I get a 5-page resume, it goes to the bottom of the pile, or frankly, I just toss it up and put it in the recycling bin, right? So the purpose of a resume, stick with me here, and this is going to make sense. It's an analogy. The purpose of the resume, the applicant thinks it's to get them the job, right? The purpose of the resume is not to get them the job. The purpose of the resume is to get them the interview, to get them away from the 5,000 other resumes into a short list where they come in for the interview, and then they get the one-on-one time, and then that gets them the job, right? It is a process. Next slide. Facebook and Instagram ads are also a process. And the process looks like this. It goes from an ad over to your webpage, over to a consultation. Now, I use the word consultation to mean a number of things. In this case, it could be a phone call, it could be an email, it could be a booking, it could be a come in and actually look at my stuff consultation. However it is, whatever your process is for getting people into the booked status, that's what I'm referring to. So it's a process, and you can tell I made this, I made this rookie mistake when I showed you my crappy ad from 2010. What did I try to do? I basically tried to make the sale from the ad. Now, keep in mind, these people were watching puppy and kitten videos seconds ago, right? And then my ad happened to pop up. And then all of a sudden, because I put the price in there and I'm telling them too much information early on, I tried to make the sale. I did this all right. Thank God I targeted correctly, ended up booking actually 4 weddings off of that crappy ad. So much better ROI than the 1,400%. But nonetheless, I did that all wrong. And most of my students do this wrong. Live example. I have a friend who is a wedding planner, and her packages start at $25,000 just for her services, which I didn't know was a thing, but there we go. $25,000 consultative services, probably now more due to inflation. And she tells me, oh, but Valerie, I've been running Facebook ads and they're just not, and Instagram ads, they're just not working for me. Okay, all right. Are you boosting a post? No, I'm running legit ads. Okay, you're better than most. Where is your, when they click on your ad, where's it going to? Well, it's going to my website. Okay, where on your website? Well, it's going to this page. Well, she shows me the page, and it is her opt-in page, the page that says, what's your name? What's your email? What's your phone number? What's your fiance's name? What's your favorite color? What's your favorite flower? How many bridesmaids? How many grooms? And when are you getting married? Where are you getting married? And my least favorite thing to ask on an opt-in page, what's your budget? So she had the ability to get them off of Facebook. But 10 seconds ago, these people were looking at puppy videos or kitten videos or whatever the heck I watch a lot of dog videos. So whatever the heck they happen to be watching, she got them into her digital front door, which is her website. And she tried to book them immediately, right? They don't even know her. They don't know anything about her. Seconds ago, they were someplace else, right? They were 5 minutes into a date. And she asked them to get married, if they wanted to get married, and she just wanted to order a salad, right? These people want to order a salad. So this is a process. Facebook and Instagram are lead generators. Their job is to drive traffic to your website. or wherever you want the traffic to go. But for most of us, it's going to be a website or a certain page on our website. What happens after that is really on you and on me. If you spend a lot of money to drive traffic to a crappy website, you need to fix your crappy website, right? So they are not going to make the sale for you. They are going to drive people to your digital front door, to essentially to your website, and trying to shortchange the process or shorten the process is really rookie mistake number 3. And I understand the idea that like, hey, I want to make it happen fast. I want to see a return on my investment fast. This is the easiest way to tank your return on your investment. Trust me on this one. People do not want to go from puppy and kitten videos to here's my $15,000 worth of rentals booked for my wedding. Right? They want to go through the process. Okay, next slide, please. So summarize our 3 rookie mistakes. Stop worrying about fan and follower counts. For the love of God, stop boosting and promoting posts. And finally, stop trying to sell and instead direct traffic to your website. And while I have you here and we're talking about traffic, you can text the word traffic, which is 2 F's, 1 C, to the number 33777. And you'll get these slides. The slides that are about ready to come up, you're really going to want, because we're getting ready to jump into a screen by screen of how to build an ad from scratch. I'm going to remind you of this number at the end again. So if you didn't get it right now, don't worry about it. But we're going to move into my moneymaker ad. Next slide, please.
Awesome. And I want to say that our next session will be starting in 10 minutes. So definitely sign up to get these slides so that you can refer back to them as Valerie's going through them now.
Okay, guys, I'm going to go fast. Everything that I've told you about thus far is kind of like the equivalent of the Facebook rules of the road, kind of like the DMV handbook. We are now going to get in the car and actually drive. Next slide. First slide you're going to come to, it's going to ask you what your objective is. In this case, our objective is actually, Corey, I'll repeat the number at the end. You'll have it on the last slide, 33777. So you are going to run a traffic ad. Traffic simply means that we are going to drive traffic from Facebook or from Instagram over to our website. So you're going to click the word traffic. Next slide. And at the bottom, it's going to ask you to name your campaign. You're going to skip over that. You're going to say continue. Next slide. Here's where we're going to name our campaign. Now, keep in mind, this is a filing system. There is a campaign level, an ad set level, and an ad level. And this filing system is just the filing system that I use. You can name yours however they like, but I think of the campaign level as what am I advertising? So in this case, I'm going to advertise this cathedral arch that we make. So I just name it Cathedral Arch. We're going to leave everything below that alone. Next. Okay. On the next slide, keep in mind, not unlike Vegas, they're trying to encourage you to do certain things. I do go into this into much greater length in my full length course, but for the sake of really understanding this one moneymaker ad that I'm constantly running in the background of all of my other ads, I want you to leave all of this untouched, resist temptation, hit the next button. Okay, the next level is the ad set. So who am I advertising to? I'm going to advertise to 24 to 32-year-old engaged to be married females in San Diego. Yes, you can advertise to the boys. Yes, you can advertise to older brides like me. But in my experience from having spent literally thousands of dollars on ads, this is the sweet spot. So this is really where I spend the bulk of my ad money when I'm advertising to the brides themselves. The next question is, where are you going to drive that traffic? Well, for most of us, when they click on the ad, where do we want them to go? We want them to go to our website. Unless you're an app developer or something like that, for the vast majority of us, they are going to go to the website. So you're going to click that button. At the bottom, you're not going to touch anything else on this slide. Next slide, please. Next, it's going to say, hey, how much do you want to spend? Well, you can set a daily budget and you could set a lifetime budget. Daily is exactly what it sounds like. The daily minimum is $5 a day. You can turn this thing on and off as you like. You can, I always tell my students, let's start small. Let's start with a start date, and then we click end date, and let's start with 2 weeks. Now, over time, I teach people it's not about the number of days, it's about the number of clicks, it's about the number of times people have seen it. But to get started, I always tell my students, start with a 2-week ad. And we always start at $5. $5 is a minimum. Even for an ad that I know has performed really, really well for me in the past, I still, when I run it again, I still started at $5 a day. And the reason is there are things that when I ran the ad the first time, that may have changed, even though they aren't things I've changed, because I haven't changed the image, I haven't changed the copy, I haven't changed the targeting, I haven't changed any of that. But what has changed is there might be other people that are advertising to my target audience this time at the same time I am, and maybe they weren't there last time. They are competing. Understand, the person that I'm looking for as a bride, well, she's a bride to me, but to REI, she's a hiker. To Toyota, she might be a Toyota driver, right? So I am sharing her time and attention when she is on Facebook and Instagram with all of these other companies. So this same ad that did fantastic for me last time might take a little bit more time this time. So I always start with $5 a day. And when an ad starts to perform well, then I scale up incrementally from 5 to 6, 6 to 7. I never double it, even no matter how good the ad is performing. I never double it, because for reasons that literally nobody I know can explain, it makes your ad tank. So I go up incrementally. Next slide, please. Okay, this is going to say, to whom are we advertising? And you have to hover on the screen, get these little edit pencils to appear. So on the next slide, we're going to go through each one of them. Location. There's a lot of different ways that you can target, but one of the most important things up at the top, it defaults to people living in or recently in this location. And then there's a drop-down menu. I don't want people that are recently in this location, because think about it. I live in San Diego. SeaWorld is around the corner. We have a big zoo here. A lot of people come here for a lot of purposes other than getting married and other than booking rentals, right? I don't care about them, or at least, from a business standpoint. So that is the default, and the default is United States. And you can see that Facebook's, there's about 260 million of those folks on Facebook, right? The first thing I'm going to do on the next screen is I'm going to change that top button to people living in this location. Yes, we do care about destination folks in the wedding business, but by and large, if we just fish in our own backyard, we're going to have sufficient business to keep us busy through the year. So I'm going to choose people living in this location, and it and then you can see that I put San Diego County into the search bar, and it automatically dropped down to 2.7 million people. And those numbers are pretty accurate. Now, another way that you can target is by dropping a pin. You can see on the map there in the lower right-hand corner, there's a drop pin. And that is just about what it sounds like. You drop a pin in a certain area, and then you can blow it up to a radius of 50 miles. And here is why this might make sense in your geography. You can target generally by city, by state, by zip code, by DMA, which is like a TV viewing area. But where I live, the bulk of my business takes place in San Diego and in this adjacent area called Temecula Wine Country, right? But Temecula Wine Country is in a different county. It's in Riverside County. Well, I don't want if I just said San Diego County and Riverside County, I don't want all of Riverside County, because half of Riverside County is Palm Springs, and it is a pain in the ass to get to Palm Springs, right? I only want the Temecula Wine Country folks. So I drop a pin, I blow up this map with a plus sign, I drop a pin on the O in the word Escondido, which shows up when you blow it up. I draw my 50-mile radius, and I have the exact trade area that I want to market to. So I love dropping a pin to do my geography. Next slide. From here, we choose our age. These are standard drop-down menus. Again, you can choose whatever you like, but I know from spending a lot of money on ads that this is my sweet spot. I choose the women, and you can see on the right, we're already down to 400,000 24 to 32-year-old women in San Diego County. Next slide. Okay, and this is where the fun comes in. Under demographics, next slide, you are going to see relationship. And Carmen, these go quickly. Under relationship, next slide, you're going to see relationship status. And then you see all these really interesting relationship statuses. Is that a right word, status? But the one we really care about is engaged. And you can see with the blue arrow on the left-hand side that when you click on that, it actually populates the box above with the word engaged. And I run so many ads to engaged females that I can just type the word engaged in the box and it knows what to do. But I want you to see the breadcrumb trail so that you know where to find this thing. Immediately above that engaged word, you see demographics, then relationship status. And this is pretty much the mother lode. We are really fortunate that the target audience that we're trying to reach is a data point within Facebook. And it kind of makes sense, because when a girl gets engaged, hopefully she calls her mom first and calls her mom and dad. But after that, typically the first thing she does is change her relationship status. And once she does, she is now mine, and she can be yours from an advertising perspective. So next slide, please. So we have now narrowed this down to 24 to 32-year-old engaged to be married females in San Diego County who have demonstrated a propensity to click, right? I want to be really clear. This isn't any engaged 24 to 32-year-old girls in San Diego County. It's those who have demonstrated a propensity to click, because way back on that first screen, by virtue of choosing the word traffic, which is just another word for website clicks, we have told Facebook, those are the ones we want. We don't want the looky-loos. We don't want the tire kickers. We want the people that actually click. So that's why this is my money-making ad. So there's 8,800 of them. You can see in the green little odometer up top, we are well within the safe zone, the green zone. So at the bottom, I choose save this audience. And on the next screen, you see that you can then type in the actual name of the audience and save this in a way that is recognizable to you. I tend to do things very literally because I run a lot of ads and I want to be able to quickly identify my audience. So I just put everything in one long line and then I hit save and I go to the next screen and I never have to do that again. Right. So now that audience is my go-to audience. This is my moneymaker ad that I'm running all the time. So now where are we going to run this ad on? That's the where geographically and to whom. Where are we going to run it on the platform? Automatic placements is always going to be the default. And by automatic placements, that means essentially it's the throwing the spaghetti against the wall and letting Facebook see what sticks methodology. It's saying, hey, here's my money, here's my budget, whether it's a daily budget or a lifetime budget. Here's my money. You figure out where my target audience is. And that is okay. Because theoretically they know that, I mean, they have all the data points, and if the ad performs best in Instagram, they're going to move the money behind the Instagram ads. If it performs best in Facebook stories, that's where they're going to move the money. So you kind of can't lose, but at the same time, you're not really learning much from that. So I start first with running my website click ads, my traffic ads solely on Facebook. Here's why. I know from having run a boatload of ads that cost per click for me on Instagram costs me about twice as much as it does on Facebook. And if you think about that, it kind of makes sense because Facebook has trained us all to click on stuff, to read long form content, to read articles, to go other places, right? Instagram, on the other hand, is just a pretty little fluffy little platform. We just basically want to see pretty stuff and scroll, 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 scroll. It's highly entertaining. It's not particularly informative. And most of us are loath to click on something on Instagram and go someplace else because we really just wanted to kind of goof off on Instagram. So because of that, the algorithm has to work twice as hard. It has to show our ads to twice as many people to get the same number of clicks, which means it costs us twice as much. So that's why I run my website click ads almost exclusively on Facebook. So I choose manual placements. Next slide.
Hey, Valerie, we are going to have to jump to our next session right now, since we are running about 3 minutes over, but I've dropped your contact information in the chat. There's so much good stuff in these slides, everybody. Really, really would recommend texting traffic to 33777 to get the slides. Valerie also has a course that you can sign up for, which the link is also in the chat. You can also catch her at the special event. That's actually where I attended this presentation by her in Miami this past July. And so she was gracious enough to give the presentation here today as well. I will drop the link again.
And if there's something that we can do separately for the folks that are on, I am happy to do it because really there's a lot of good stuff in here to get you up and running. And so I'm happy to do that.
Gotcha. Valerie, I'm seeing that it says traffic is not a recognized keyword when they send the links.
Okay,
If everybody, oh, go ahead.
I'll troubleshoot that.
Great. That sounds good. And then additionally, if everybody would like to let me know that you would like to be considered, just you feel free to send a quick message in the chat here and I'll make sure to record everybody's name as well, just to be safe, because we definitely want to get you these slides.
And another easy way to do it is Valerie, VALERIE at wedding ads that work.
Yes. I will write that here too. Yep. So again, so sorry to cut you off, Valerie, but we really enjoyed this presentation. There's so much good stuff in here, and I think everybody can benefit from this, because I know you mentioned a lot of wedding examples, but everybody can benefit from Facebook ads. We use Facebook ads ourselves. So really excited to see what everybody does with all of this awesome information.
Thank you.